Welcome again. We are on chapter 2. Chapter 2 is desire, and desire is the first step in Napoleon Hill's 13 principles of achieving success. Okay, so this is where we're going to really start getting into the nuts and bolts in Think and Grow Rich. Even though chapter 1, the introduction, and the last module, we discussed a lot, we went over a lot. So this chapter on desire really piggybacks on the introduction chapter. And it starts off, and we're going to dive right into it. I'm not going to mess around here. It starts off with using Barnes again. Okay. Because remember in the first chapter with the introduction, it was kind of vague a little bit on how long it took Barnes to achieve a partnership with Edison. And it goes on, and if you read the chapter, it goes in a little bit more detail on what Barnes experienced. So let's kind of go through this together, and we will go right into Barnes. So Barnes, let me just start off to kind of start the introduction of this chapter and the introduction of this training. When Edward C. Barnes climbed down from the freight train in Orange, New Jersey, more than 30 years ago, he may have resembled a tramp, but his thoughts were of a king. Remember, it's a thought life. Didn't matter what he looked like, what he appeared to look like, but his thoughts were those of a king. He had made his way from the railroad tracks to Thomas Edison's office. His mind was at work. He saw himself standing in Edison's presence. He heard himself asking Mr. Edison for an opportunity to carry out the one consuming obsession of his life, a burning desire to become the business associate of the great inventor. And what he means by business associate, he means a partner. Like nowadays, we look at it as a business partner. That I want to be a business partner of yours. I want to be part of your business. Not just an employee, but part of it. Now this is where it becomes very intriguing. Listen up. Barnes' desire was not a hope. It was not a wish. It was a keen, pulsating desire which transcended everything else. It was definite. Remember in the introduction, the one thing that we were learning is having a definite purpose. Having a definite purpose on what you want. Then it went into persistence. Okay, those are the two things we talked about last time. But now he's bringing it back. Be definite. Have a definite purpose of what you want, but he's attaching desire to it. Have a desire, a strong desire to achieve what you want, to achieve that goal that you want. Listen to this. The desire was not new when he approached Edison. It had been Barnes' dominating desire for a long time. In the beginning, when the desire first appeared in his mind, it may have been, and probably was, only a wish. But it was no mere wish when it appeared before Edison with it. So he's putting his desire in action. Okay? At this point, he's not just thinking about it. He's thinking about it, and it's growing, it's intensifying, but he put it in action. He's actually moving towards his desire. A few years later, Edward C. Barnes stood before Edison in the same office where he first met the inventor. This time, his desire had translated into reality. He was in business with Edison. The dominating dream of his life had become a reality. Today, people who know Barnes envy him because the break life yielded him. They see him in his days of his triumph without taking the trouble to investigate the cause of his success. And people do the same thing today. Now listen to this. Got a little bit more specific. See, in the introduction chapter, he just it just kind of was vague. Napoleon Hill was vague. He just said that Barnes didn't achieve his partnership with Edison in a few months. But now we know, we're learning that it was a few years. A few years went by. Now let me ask you a question. If it took a few years for you to achieve the goals in your life, for you to achieve exactly what you want in life, would your desire be strong enough? Would it be intensifying daily or weekly and every single month until you achieve that desire? That's what Barnes did. It just intensified. He was always success cautious with what Napoleon Hill said earlier. Remember? Barnes succeeded because he chose a definite goal, placed all his energy, all his willpower, all his effort, everything back to that goal. It wasn't a miracle. It wasn't just, something that just happened. Let me say again, Barnes succeeded because he chose a definite goal. Remember what we said before. Have a definite goal, be specific. Placed all his energy, all his willpower, all his effort, everything back of that goal. He did not become the partner of Edison the day he arrived. He was content to start in the most menial work as long as it provided an opportunity to take even one step toward his cherished goal. See, this is something that we lack, and this is a powerful paragraph right here, just right in the beginning of the chapter on desire. See, most of us, we tune things out. And let me give you an example. Lots of times we might not like our work. Okay, we might like it, we might put up with it, but it's not the work of our dreams. It's not the job of our dreams. It's not the career of our dreams. Okay, but we lose interest. Makes sense? We don't get our dream job right away. We automatically think, well, I guess this is what we'll have to put up with. This is what my life is just meant to be. This is the job I have. So what are we doing there? Okay, we don't have a strong desire. We're losing our definite purpose of what we really want. We're not staying persistent on achieving what we want. We're throwing in a towel. That's exactly what we're doing. And I'm being real with you. What Napoleon Hill means here, listen to this. And he's talking about Barnes. He was content to start in the most menial work as long as it provided an opportunity to take him even one step toward his goal. So I bet you, even if you don't have the career of your choice right now, and you have your dream career, I bet you can find something in that career that you have right now that's moving you slowly towards your dream job, your dream career. See, we have to look at stuff in the right perspective. And that perspective, quite honestly, you might say, well, Chad, there's nothing. And I'm telling you, it might just come down to money. Make sense? Your job right now gives you money in your pocket, so you don't have to worry about paying your bills. So you can focus on your dream job. You can focus on energy on pursuing your dream career. See, we have to look at a different perspective. That's all it is. The job I have right now, it provides me the cash and the money that I can pay my bills. I don't have to worry about anything. My mind's checked out as far as paying my bills. All it provides me is an opportunity to make money. Then my extra energy I have is over with my dream job, what I really want. That's what I'm really focusing on. See what I did? It's the same philosophy Napoleon Hill is talking about. What's your perspective? Put things in proper perspective. That's what we need to do. Listen to this. 5 years passed before the chance he had been seeking made its appearance. Barnes waited 5 years. Not waiting, his desire was intensifying. Remember in the introduction, 5 years passed. It wasn't a few months, 5 years. During all those years, not one ray of hope Not one promise of attainment of a desire had been held out to him. To everyone except himself, he appeared only another cog in the Edison business wheel. But in his own mind, he was the partner of Edison every minute of the time. Listen to this. In his own mind, he was the partner of Edison every minute of the time. He was intensifying his desire. He wasn't losing hope. It was intensifying. He stayed focused and persistent with it. And it says, continues, from that very day that he first went to work for Edison. It was a remarkable illustration of the power of definite desire. Barnes won his goal because he wanted to be a business associate of Mr. Edison more than he wanted anything else. He created a plan by which to attain the purpose, but he burned all bridges behind him. And this is something we're going to talk about here. He burned all bridges behind him. He had no place to go. He had to achieve it or nothing else. Every day, every month, every week. Said that kind of backwards. But anyway, his dream just intensified. His desire just intensified what he wanted. And what it means by he burned all bridges behind him. I mean, how many times do we, when we want to move towards that dream job, but in the back of our mind, we're really thinking, well, if it doesn't really work out, I got my other job I can go back to. If it doesn't really happen in a week or so or in a month, I got my other job I can go back to. See how we're thinking again? It said he burned all bridges behind him. There was no plan B. There was only plan A. I remember Will Smith said this. There is no plan B. There's only plan A. Plan B only distracts against plan A. So you might as well go with plan A and stay persistent and have a definite purpose on achieving that and have the desire to intensify to achieve what you want. He stood by his desire until it became the dominating obsession of his life and finally a fact. Let me read this one more time. He stood by his desire until it became the dominating obsession of his life and finally a fact. Let me ask you a question. Are you obsessed with achieving what you want to achieve in your life? And what I mean obsessed, when we think of the word obsessed, we always think of it in a negative. But I mean a healthy obsession. You're thinking success consciousness all the time. You're thinking positive all the time. You're not letting people burn out that flame. You have a definite purpose. You're persistent. And you have a strong desire to achieve what you want. Do you? Then Napoleon Hill states what we talked about in the introduction chapter. He talked about Barnes here. He did not say, I will work there for a few months, and if I don't get no encouragement, I will quit and get a job elsewhere. He did say, I will start anywhere. I will do anything Edison tells me to do, but before I am through, I will be his associate. He did not say, I will keep my eyes open for another opportunity in case I fail to get what I want in the Edison organization. He did say, there is but one thing in this world that I am determined to have, and that is a business association with Thomas A. Edison. I will burn all bridges behind me, and I will stake my entire future on my ability to get what I want. Barnes, he left himself no possible way of retreat. He had to win or perish, and this is what we're talking about. You have to win or perish. When you have like one little toe dangling over in the water, no wonder why you're not achieving what you want to achieve. You're not achieving what you want in your life because you have one little toe over there. You just need to do a cannonball into a deep end. and you learn how to swim on the way up. And I'll say this again. He left himself no possible way to retreat. He had to win or perish. That is all there is to the Barnes success story. It's very simple. It's very simple. Barnes became a very, very wealthy man during his time. It's very simple. The three things we're talking about here: have a definite purpose, be definite, specific about it, be persistent, and have a desire. And intensify that desire daily and weekly and monthly on what you want and what you want to achieve. Then Napoleon Hill kind of goes on. He tells a story of a great warrior faced in a situation, which made it necessary for him to make a decision which ensured success on the battlefield. He was about to send his armies against a powerful foe when men outnumbered his own. So his army is going against a greater army. He loaded his soldiers into the boats, sailed to the enemy's country, unloaded his soldiers and equipment, then gave the order to burn the ships that had carried them. See what he's doing? Addressing his men before the first battle, he said, "You see those boats going up in smoke? That means we cannot leave these shores alive unless we win." They had no possible way to retreat. They couldn't run back to the boats and get away if they were losing. They had to win or perish. They had to achieve their goal. Period. We now have no choice. We win or we perish. And they won. Napoleon Hill says, every person who wins in any undertaking must be willing to burn his ships and cut all sources of retreat. Only by doing so can one be sure of maintaining the state of mind known as a burning desire to win, essential to success. Desire again. Napoleon Hill states a little bit farther down. He gives a couple examples, but I don't need to go over every single example. He says, wishing would not bring riches, but desiring riches with a state of mind that becomes an obsession, then planning in definite ways and means to acquire the riches, and backing those plans with persistence, which does not recognize failure, will bring riches. Will bring exactly what you want in life. Will bring, no matter what your goal is, we all want different things. You can achieve exactly what you want. Highlight this paragraph. Wishing will not bring riches, but desiring riches with a state of mind that becomes an obsession, then planning different ways and means to acquiring riches, and backing those plans with persistence, which does not recognize failure, will bring riches. Will bring you exactly what you want. It's the three main topics we've been talking about here so far. Having a definite purpose, being specific, being persistent, and having an intensified desire to achieve what you want to achieve. Now, this is the most important part of this chapter. And Napoleon Hill gives 6 steps to achieve exactly what you want. And he says, and we're going to go through these 6 steps, and I know you've read this. We're going to go through it, and I want you to do it. I want you to apply it, and I want you to do it daily, day and night. Okay, Napoleon Hill explains this, and I'll explain it a little bit further about the day and night. But let's go through the 6 steps here. The first one, Napoleon Hill says, fix in your mind the exact amount of money you desire. It is not sufficient merely to say, I want plenty of money. Be definite as to the amount. There is a psychological reason for definiteness, which will bring which will be described in a later chapter. See, he's talking about being definite again, just like that car example I gave you. So one, as we do this, it's very good to be taking notes or writing it down, but you can actually do this while we go through it. Write down the exact amount of money that you want. Be definite. Not just, I want a healthy living, I want plenty of money. Plenty of money to me might be totally different from plenty of money to you, and vice versa. Second, determine exactly what you intend to give in return for the money you desire. Napoleon Hill says, there is no such reality as something for nothing. And this is kind of a big no-no a little bit, what people are doing. People want, why businesses can't succeed, when we look at business and business consulting, then we look at personal, is people want something for nothing. They don't want to give. See, universal law is you give, you get. You give, you receive. Might not come, when we give something, it might not come from that source that we gave to. But law states, as we give, we must receive. So, and the amount of money that you want to make, determine exactly what you intend to give in return for that money. What do you want to do in return for the money? Okay. Step 3. Establish a definite date when you intend to possess the money you desire. Now we're getting specific on a date. So 3 is pick a date when you're going to achieve the amount of money up here. 4th is create a definite plan for carrying out your desire and begin at once, whether you're ready or not, to put that plan in action. So 4 is a plan. You develop a plan and you start right away. You do it. Okay? This is, you can see how several steps here. Here, it's about being specific, knowing exactly what you want, the exact amount of money you want to make. Here, step 2, remember, is what do you give in return for the money? What are you doing in return for the amount of money that you intend to make? You intend to make yearly. What's the date? So the exact time frame you're going to achieve your goal. Now, develop a plan of action. And Napoleon Hill says, once you develop a plan, start immediately. Don't wait. Don't wait for the perfect moment. See this right here, sometimes we do this, and we do this, and we do this. Then we get held up by the plan. Why? Because I think it's human nature. For some reason, we've been taught that everything has to be perfect. If I want to be a public speaker, well, everything has to be perfect before I start speaking in public. See, the thing is, you just need to start. And as you start, you get better at what you do. Are you going to be not that great in the beginning? Probably. But you're doing it. You're doing exactly what you want to do. See, when people have and start these huge companies, multi-billion-dollar companies, and if you know them, or you've done research and you track them, maybe you met them and you talked to them, they started just like where you're starting. There is no secret. They started exactly where you started. But the secret is, the main really secret, they just started. They didn't wait. They didn't wait for it to be perfect. Because as you're waiting for it to be perfect, you're waiting and waiting and waiting. And years pass and years go by and you're still waiting for it to be perfect. Because there's no such thing as perfection. You just have to start. That's the great secret. You just have to do it. Then along the way, you get better at it. Along the way, you learn different things. Along the way, you meet mentors and coaches that want to help you. that want to help you achieve what you want to achieve. Just start. Fifth, write out a clear, concise statement of the amount of money you intend to acquire. Name the time limit for its acquisition. State what you intend to give in return for the money, and describe clearly the plan through which you intend to accumulate it. So 5 is kind of simple. Okay, 5 is you're writing your plan. Okay, but what you're doing when you're writing your plan, you're including step 4, step 3, step 2, and step 1, all in your plan. All in this written plan. And Napoleon Hill gives an example through this, and I'll give you an example also. I will attach this as a PDF. I'll write out an example, and you can kind of follow it. 6. This is where the rubber meets the road. 6. Read your written statement aloud twice daily. Once just before retiring at night, and once after arising in the morning. As you read, see and feel and believe yourself already in possession of the money that you want. Let me read that one more time. As you read, see and feel and believe yourself already in possession of the money that you want. Okay, now, with 6, let me put the book down here, so I'm going back and forth. 6 is you're reading your written statement twice a day. What I want you to do, what Napoleon Hill states, is you read it right when you arise, right when you wake up. Like in the beginning, I would write it on a 3x5 card. And I would have one sitting by my bed. I would have one in the living room. I would have one sitting on the kitchen table. You have to set yourself up for success. Okay? Writing it on one card, you put it somewhere that you never see it, it doesn't work. You have to put it where you see it. You have to set yourself up for success. If you have to tape that thing on the mirror so you see it in the morning, you tape it on the mirror. Okay? You have to put it where you go regularly, right after you get out of bed. Best right beside your bed, right beside your alarm clock. Where you get up, the alarm clock goes off, it's sitting right there, you pick it up and you read it. Same thing when you retire at night, when you go to bed at night. You read it right before you go to bed. Now the power in this is doing it in the morning and at night. There's a lot of research. Now this has been going on for years and years. Even Napoleon Hill, 100 years ago now, or more than that, Napoleon Hill's telling you to do it. Now we know that what happens is when we go into kind of a sleepy state, either we wake up or we're getting ready to go to bed, we're in that sleepy state. Now when we go into that sleepy state, our subconscious mind, remember we have our conscious mind and we have our subconscious mind. Now our conscious mind is what we see, hear, taste, touch. It's all of our senses. It's what we see, what we're bringing in all day long, and what we filter through. Our subconscious mind just does what we believe. Our subconscious mind doesn't dictate between what's real and not real. That's why, the law of attraction, what we believe, that's why we're getting exactly what we believe. We're living a lifestyle exactly what we want. Either we want to live it or not, we're attracting that lifestyle to us. Because to our subconscious mind, it cannot dictate between what's false and what's not. That's what's so important when we talk about desire. That's what's so important being success conscious. Because we do it enough, we do it long enough, we trick our subconscious mind into thinking we've already achieved it. And once we do that, once we trick our subconscious mind that we already achieved it, guess what? It comes to us. Because it has to by law. So once we go into the sleepy state, when we read something, that's where our mind is remembering, like when we go to bed, right when we wake up. So let me give you a couple tips here. This is why, and this is something, I have to work on myself. I have to stay very focused on, because this is just, habits, bad habits from childhood. This is why it's very not a good thing, to be listening to music while you go to bed. Makes sense? Because those thoughts of those music is really getting into your subconscious mind. That's why, like, when you get into a sleepy state, you shouldn't be falling asleep with a movie on or a TV show on. Makes sense? So we really need to train ourselves where, maybe an hour before bedtime, half hour before bedtime, I'm not watching TV. I'm not just laying down and just falling asleep with the TV on or with the radio on or some TV show playing. Okay. And it kind of sounds a little hocus pocus a little bit. Kind of sounds like, oh my God, everybody does this, Chad, but where are your results? See, that's the question. Results don't lie. See, we can debate all day long. We can talk philosophy all day long. You can talk philosophy to me all day. But when it comes to the end of the day, where are your results? What type of results are you getting? So, going back, read it twice a day. Write it on the 3x5 card, where in the beginning, you'll need that card because you won't remember it. Place it throughout your house. By your bed, where you're at, by your alarm clock. Tape it to the mirror if you have to. Set yourself up for success, because there's no excuse why you're not reading it right when you wake up and before bedtime. Then after a week, you're going to memorize it. So you're not going to need the 3x5 card. But what you need is that 3x5 card still in those places, because it will trigger your mind. When you see it, you're like, oh, I have to do it. And you do it. Okay? Until you get on a really habit of doing it, and you just do it by habit. But this is very important. Read it twice a day. So let's go back to the chapter. Napoleon Hill says, it is important that you follow the instructions described in these 6 steps. It is especially important that you observe and follow the instructions in the 6th paragraph. You may complain that it is impossible for you to see yourself in possession of the money before you actually have it. Here is where a burning desire, he's coming back to desire. Here is where a burning desire will come to your aid. If you truly desire money so keenly that your desire is an obsession, you will have no difficulty in convincing yourself that you will acquire it. The object is to want money and become so determined to have it that you convince yourself you will have it. See, this is where I'm telling you about the subconscious mind. You're convincing your subconscious mind that you have it. You already have it. So if the subconscious mind can't dictate what's real or not real, it just takes it as reality. It takes it as real. If I tell myself I'm wealthy every day, I tell myself I make $15 million a year, over and over and over and over and over again, eventually I'm going to believe it. Subconsciously, I'm going to believe it, and it's going to become a reality. Simple as that. Takes a little bit of work. It's not overnight. Doesn't happen in a week. But it will happen. Only those who become money conscious will ever accumulate great riches. Money consciousness means that the mind has become so thoroughly saturated with the desire for money that one can see one's self already in possession of it. Then he goes on, he's still talking about these 6 steps. He says, but the successful application of these 6 steps does call for sufficient imagination to enable one to see and to understand the accumulation of money cannot be left to chance, good fortune, or in luck. One must realize that all who have accumulated great fortunes first did a certain amount of dreaming, hoping, wishing, desiring, and planning before they acquired the money. And money you can put in any type of aspect. Desiring anything you want to achieve. It doesn't have to be money. Remember that. You may as well know right here that you can never have riches in great quantities unless you can work yourself into a white heat of desire for money and actually believe you will possess it. And this is a great quote. If you do not see great riches in your imagination, you will never see them in your bank balance. Let me say that one more time. If you do not see great riches in your imagination, you will never see them in your bank balance. And this is something that I want to talk on here for a second. This is something especially for adults. I mean, kids get it. Makes sense. When you talk about imagination, when little kids have great imaginations. It's not until they go to school or they get a little bit older and maybe from parents or in school, it's taught that it's not cool to have an imagination. And we kind of stifle their imagination and we kind of halt it. It's still there, but now as an adult, we kind of have an imagination of a frog. It's still there. It still can be developed, but we don't use it. So our imagination it's hard. It's hard. It's for some reason as an adult, it's hard to imagine all these things. And the reason why it's hard is because it's been so beat out of you by the school system or our parents that it's not cool to have an imagination. Or you're old enough now. You're 8, 9, 10 years old. I mean, you have to be realist. You have to be real. Stop with this all playing around with imagination. It happens. But now, later in life, and as an adult, not having imagination actually holds you back. Because it's your imagination which helps your desire, having a definite purpose, being persistent. It's your imagination that helps your thought life to achieving what you really want to achieve. So, here, we have to develop our what? Our imagination. This is something us adults, me included, really have to work on. Is having a strong imagination. Again. And this isn't going to come overnight. If you haven't been doing it for a while, most adults haven't been doing this. They haven't had imagination like since they were 8 years old. This will take a little bit of time. And this exercise here will help you. But having a lack of imagination is what's going to make this difficult for you a little bit. I mean, for example, no matter what you think about the holidays, no matter what your background is, don't take offense to this. We can use this example if it's a birthday, if it's Christmas, if it's some type of holiday you celebrate. I mean, go to a kid or your child and ask him what he wants for his birthday. And you know what? Most of the time he comes back, or maybe a Christmas list or something. And he comes back and he has that whole page filled. And it took him 5 minutes. You use the same exercise to an adult, they give you 1 or 2 things. Versus a child, there's no comparison. Child just sits down, they're just writing. They're done in 5 minutes. There you go. They have like 30 things on the page. You're like, oh my God. You give it to an adult, the adult's sitting there thinking forever. Just like looking, oh my God, I can't. Because why? They're not used to having imagination. They're not used to using it. There's different even exercises in personal development that, write down 100 things that you want to achieve in your life. I mean, sometimes it takes people weeks. It takes people months to write it because they're lacking imagination. They're not used to using it. You give that same exercise to a child, their pen never stops. They have it done within 10, 15 minutes. It just never stops. They're just writing. But you're so keen on their imagination. There's a lot that we can learn from kids, from children. And imagination is one of them. And I'll go back to the quote of Napoleon Hill said, if you do not see great riches in your imagination, You will never see them in your bank balance. Never. Ever. And now this chapter kind of, I'll point out, a couple quotes that I like. Things I say to myself. Sometimes I write the quotes down and I repeat them. Success requires no apologies. Failure permits no alibis. What he means by alibis is excuses. That's what he's kind of talking about. So success requires no apologies, and failure permits no excuses. If the thing that you wish to do is right and you believe in it, go ahead and do it. Put your dreams across and never mind what they say if you meet with temporary defeat. For they perhaps do not know that every failure brings with it the seed of an equivalent success. Remember that. Every single failure brings with it a seed of an equivalent success. See, when you know this stuff, you know these types of verses or sayings or little quotes, when something happens, I repeat that stuff. If I go through a little failure, immediately I'm repeating something like this. I remember it. I'm repeating. Every failure brings with it a seed of an equivalent success. Sometimes when a little failure happens, I'll say, I'm blessed and I cannot be cursed. A little setback happens, I'll say to myself, I'm always repaid by double. Something bad's happened to me, I'm repaid by double. The double goodness comes back to me. Double success comes back to me. See, it's all about how we think. Isn't it weird when we look at successful people, why do successful people keep on becoming more successful? Why do people who make great money, wealthy, just keep on making more and more money? It's a thought process. Look at this. And Napoleon Hill, he's still talking about imagination. He says, dreams are the seedlings of reality. Say that one more time. Dreams are the seedlings of reality. We can put this into another term. Your imagination are the seedlings of reality. He comes back to the desire. A burning desire to be and to do is a starting point from which the dreamer must take off. Dreams are not born of indifference, laziness, or lack of ambition. No one ever is defeated until defeat has been accepted into reality. See, you have never been defeated unless you've accepted defeat in your own life. Now, near the end of the chapter, Napoleon Hill does a couple things. He gives a poem. I read the poem to you because I think the poem has tremendous power. And it's by a great poet. Napoleon Hill doesn't say who it's by, but anyway, it is very powerful. I bargained with life for a penny, and life would pay no more. However, I begged at evening when I counted by my scanty store. For life is just an employer. He gives you what you ask. But once you have set the wages, why, you must bear to ask. I worked for a menial's hire, only to learn, dismayed, that any wage I'd asked of life would have willingly paid. And this is a great poem, is what we've been talking about here so far. You get exactly what you ask for. If you settle for less, that's exactly what you're going to get. If you settle to make more, that's exactly what you're going to get. So aim high, have a desire, have a definite purpose, and be persistent until you attain that goal that you're going after. Now, Napoleon Hill sums up the chapter 2 on desire, and he gives a personal example of him and his son. And because one of his sons was deaf, and he really helped his son really with personal development when his son was very, very little. And he tells, this goes through several pages. This is a great story that you can kind of read on your own. And one of the things that stood out to me when he was working with his son that was deaf, and his son later in life could hear through because they invented a hearing aid, and his son really became very high level up in the company with hearing aids and salesmen and stuff like that. So his son became very successful in that area. But one of the things Napoleon Hill said is when his older brother wanted something, he would lie down on the floor, kick his feet in the air, and cry for it and get it. When the little deaf boy wanted something, he would plan a way to earn the money, then buy it for himself. And he still follows that plan. And this goes on for several pages. I won't go into it. You can read it. A couple of quotes here I like. A burning desire has devious ways of transmuting itself into a physical equivalent. Remember, let me read this one more time. A burning desire has devious ways of transmuting itself into its physical equivalent. So what that means is, lots of times, like in our own mind, we want to control everything. We want to think, like for example, the best example I can put would, if I help somebody, maybe I help them move. Let me put the book down. Maybe I help them move. They're moving from one house to another, I help them move. So when I move, what happens? The first person I go to is the same person that I help, because I'm thinking right away, I'm thinking, well, I helped him, he's going to help me. Then, you call him or you text him nowadays and you say, hey, I'm moving, can you help me? He doesn't even have to think about it. He says, no, can't, sorry. And you're scratching your head thinking, dude, as much as I helped you move, helped you do this, helped you do that, and you're not going to help me? And most of the time when this happens, when it happens over and over and over again, we just throw in a towel that we don't want to help anybody, which we're not learning an important lesson here. See, we're told to give and we receive, but what we're trying to do is we're trying to control where the receiving is coming from. But the law states that if we give, we'll receive, but we just don't know where it's coming from. We don't know how we're going to receive it. See, that's the thing we have to hold in the back of our mind. We don't know where it's coming from. And the same way with the quote that Napoleon Hill stated. When he talks about desire, we're talking about our goals. A burning desire has devious ways of transmuting itself into physical equivalent. It has different ways. It will come to you from a way that you don't even expect it. You just have to be aware of how it's coming to you. That's the key and that's the secret. And one paragraph I want to kind of sum up here, and I'll sum up this whole chapter with this paragraph. And this is almost on the last page. I planted in my son's mind the desire to hear and speak as any normal person hears and speaks. That desire has now become a reality. I planted in his mind the desire to convert his greatest handicap into his greatest asset. That desire has been realized. The modus operandi by which this astounding result has achieved is not hard to describe. It consisted of three very definite facts. First, I mixed faith with desire for a normal hearing, which I passed on to my son. Second, I communicated my desire to him in every conceivable way available, through persistence, continuous effort over a period of years. And third, he believed me. So believe believe you can achieve anything you want in your life. It's belief. That's what it is. It's having faith and belief. Let me share a secret with you before we move on here. When we think of the word faith, what does that mean? Most of the time, you know, if you're religious, you have faith in the unseen, which is God. We can't see it, but we have faith in it. But what I like to do, I like to switch up things. And as you read Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, it will be in other chapters as well. Well, have faith of a child. What does that mean? Walk in faith as a child. What does that mean? Well, faith equals, okay, is the same word for belief. Okay, so you have to play with terminology here. If I say walk in faith and not by sight, well, I'm really saying you walk in belief and not by sight. You believe it. If you say have faith of a child, what you're really saying is you have belief as a child. You believe like a child. Like when you tell your child something, they just believe you. They don't question you to death. They just believe you. See, without belief, there is no such thing as faith. You can't say, well, I have faith, but you don't believe something. But they both mean the same thing. If you believe, you have faith. If you have faith, you believe. That's the most important. You believe in all your goals you want to have. You believe in all your goals and accomplishments you want to accomplish. You believe it. Period. Now, let's sum this up. This is what I want you to do. I'll have a PDF copy of this, but follow through with Napoleon Hill's 6 steps. Okay? So, I want you to write out, and I'll have a copy of this to show you. You can print off, or you can see it, and you can do it. It doesn't matter how long it takes. Don't rush through this plan, okay? Don't just sit down, okay, I just want to get it done. It's not gonna work. You have to be passionate about it. Put some time into it. Put some effort into it. Even if it takes you a week, even if it takes you a month to do it, because you're really thinking on what you really want. Okay? So step one, remember, write out a specific amount of money you want to make. This would be a year. I'm not talking about net worth. Let's just keep it basic. Yearly income. Then you can, if you say year income, okay, get specific. Know what you make monthly. Know what you make in a week. Know what you make hourly. Make sense? That's what being specific. Know you have the amount, but you know specifically. You can break that down to the bare essentials. So know. Number 2 is know what you're going to give in return for the money. There is no such thing as nothing for something. You know, when companies try to give nothing for something, most of the time they close down. When people give nothing for something, they're not very successful. So know what you're going to give in return for your money. 3, set a specific date when you're going to what? When you're going to accomplish your goal. 4, have a plan. Start the plan immediately. 5, write out your plan. Remember, your written plan includes steps 1, 2, 3, and 4. 6, read your plan twice a day. Once upon rising in the morning. The second time is at bedtime, right before you go to bed. Put this everywhere you can see it. Set yourself up for success. This will be, we'll talk about a little bit later. I will attach a PDF with some examples to help you write it. and we'll go on from there. But I'll see you in the next chapter.